Oh yes, here we go. It is the T.N.F. Slightly different lineup, slightly later than we had intended to be as well. Sorry, we are a wee bit later. I've got the same spiders cutting about my house, Phil. There's not many of them. There's not many spiders that I get in my flat, right?
Yep.
But there was 2 last month on my bedroom door.
Oh.
Really tiny bodies with big legs. And I thought, they look unusual. And why are they on a door? You always see them on walls, not doors.
Uh-huh.
And then last night, I fucking looked up for the laptop and I was like, there's a carbon copy of the one I seen about a month ago. And I was like, what the fuck? These weird shaped ones.
Uh-huh.
And I came home for work about 20 past 4, half past 4, if my boss is watching, 5 o'clock. And it's like building its wee web in the corner. I'm like, straight out. So I said to the judge, I was like, look, mate, might be a wee bit later. The latest I wanted to be was about 7 back of 7. Yeah, I tried to get the judge to come on tonight, but sadly he has his plans, you know what I mean? So I'm gutted that he couldn't join us, but I did try and signpost the big man, but I'm sure he will be back on. I've said to him as well that we can rearrange it for Saturday or Sunday. So hopefully we will see Mark make an appearance before the game on Sunday. I know everyone enjoys his content, as do I. But there's nothing I can do when it's shit like that. I'm an absolute shite bag, do you know what I mean? And I needed moral support with me before I could even contemplate sitting down in this chair, because it was literally right up there. Right up there. It turns out though, before I'd left, I think this is when I'd used this mad spray and it fucking it like sort of reacted to it, and I was like, oh, I'm already out, fuck this, dealing with that. And then we came back, my pal Flash, many of you probably know for the old Celtic Twitter, she's like, you're a lying wee bastard, there's no spider there. And there it was, stunned on its back behind the picture frame. But there's another couple around the flats, one in the bathroom. There's one in the hall, or there was, but they all look the same. I was like, is it too far getting pest control?
I hate them as well, don't be fair, mate. I do hate them.
I'm serious.
Spiders and all, man. Like, they are horrible little creatures. Like, what?
I mean, I'm not bothered if pest control laugh at me over 3 spiders. Like, I'm game for the laughter. Take my money and get rid of.
There's the solution right there. All spiders.
See, but no. See, this Celtic. Listen, spiders up inside your Hoover. You've not killed them.
They could feed in there. Oh yeah. Oh,
right, no. And then what happens? They just go out a chute at the end into a bin. Wee, straight back. Tell other cousins, tell other aunties and uncles. Hey, soft touch up there at fucking Boyce's flat. And then there's fucking, they come back with about 300 of them. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I can't have that. Oh no.
No. It's not my thing, man. Yeah, I know. I mean, I've got a cat, Paddy, to deal with this, man. But you know, I think I've been sold him on false pretense. Not that I've sold him, but I think I got him on false pretenses as well, because I think I'll be chasing spiders out for him. Anyway, enough of that shite. Apologies, we are late. We will crack on. All that good stuff means give us a wee like, give us a share, slag the kind of growing back here.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate
it, mate. Appreciate it. Next, I'll be going to Turkey to get some on my chin, so I can be like you, mate. So I can be like you with that badge you look. If you want to, what's the things you can do? I hit the bell so you never miss a Boise Bus episode. If we are late due to creepy crawlies, then don't worry about it, because if you've hit that bell, we will be there to still come and pick you up at the bus stop. Seamus McKenna, you nearly got blocked there. He says spiders are class. Just mate. That's getting blocked material for the bus. I'm telling you, it's no spiders on this bus. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's do it. Piesports.com as well. Bus 1888, 12.5% off all your favorite types of pies for the new season. Phil,
yes,
is the Adam Idah saga finally nearing an end? I mean, Conor in the group chat, I love to death, as you know. That's why he got his own Conor Carrpool and all that, because I think he's great. But he accepts it himself. I mean, he reacts quick to things. And I felt in the group chat, I was like, have you read this article? Fresh bid for Adam Idah. Then you read the article and it kind of just suggested the talks are ongoing, if you actually read it to the bottom. But everything Celtic, I think it was, on the old Twitter just not so long ago. Eyeballs, Clover, are they ITK? Are they in the know? I mean, to be honest with you, there's two sides to the debate I'm going to pitch to you, Phil, right?
Mhm.
So, getting Adam Idah on a football point of view makes total sense for Celtic. It's a good thing. It's a good news story. Let's not be over negative. And from Celtic's point of view, they could say, and they would have the right to argue, by taking an extra, I'll call it 10 weeks Celtic, you'll probably call it a couple, because the window only actually opened, 5 weeks ago or whatever. They'll spin it like that, which is fine, because you can't do business in between and have it arranged for the day the window opens, of course. Let's go with 5 weeks. If 5 weeks could save you 1.5, 2.5 million pounds, say, for example, is that not worth it? To which I would say, fair enough. That's fair enough. That saves you money, and he'll still be in time to Champions League deadline. But are we not also told, when we don't have Champions League guaranteed group stage football, that we can't get deals in because we don't know what money we'll have? So when there's 30 million at stake, we don't do business early. When we've got the money, but we can save 10% of a 30 million bounty that we're not willing to risk to try and get ourselves rewarded with when there's playoffs. When we've got the guaranteed group stage and we do have the money, we want to talk about the beauty of the saving of 2 million, but we never talk about the jeopardy or the sadness that we've missed out on 30 when we don't do. Either way, I think Celtic try and find, Phil, us a way to find us conditions, shall we say, of accepting the reasons they can't get business done early in any window. January's notoriously difficult. We'll do an apology after it. In the summer, if we've got group stage football, it's because we haggled and we're good at the negotiating table. That's why we saved we slivers of money here and there. And when there is group stage football, we only, because we're such business savvy people, only invest as if we're in the Europa League, though, guys. Hey, how clever is that? Either way, I mean, I'm frustrated with the length of time it's taken. I still think that the signing, when it comes to on the pitch, makes a hell of a lot of sense and is a hell of a benefit. How we go about it could frustrate the life out of me, and probably will for forevermore, because he will not be the last example of this sort of this Celtic antics when it comes to getting in the right player.
They are experts at moving goalposts. They certainly are. All the reasons that you just listed off there.
Good choice of words there as well. Good choice of words, Phil. I like that.
They do find ways to spin it. But as I'm as frustrated as you regarding this. To me, the Adam Idah and the Bernardo deals were slam dunks for me. Okay, yes, Adam Idah loan didn't initially come with an option to buy, but for me, you could tell that boy wanted to be here. So at the end of the season, after scoring that goal, there's no way that in the back of his head he was like, I can't wait to get back down to Norwich and try my luck next season there. He'd 100% have been, talking to Brendan about making it happen. It's mad how it's taken this long to get there. And it's just, as of tonight, it seems like we've gone in with, believe it or not, we've actually got bidded about 8 million they're talking about. Whether that turns out to be true or not, who knows? That's the latest story tonight. Now,
I read he was 8 million rated. I've not read Celtic have bid 8 million. Have you read Celtic have bid 8 million?
In amongst the numerous different tweets and articles flying around tonight, apparently Celtic have bidded the amount to get Norwich now round the table, which they couldn't do initially. So if they're saying he's 8 million rated, then is it in that figure? But what I would say to that is the caveat that Matt O'Reilly's definitely gone now. Is this the only reason why we're spending it?
Yeah, the beginning of his money getting spent.
Yeah,
and you can't help but feel this is the first time I've heard Adam Idah being described as 8 million rated. Right? Yeah. You just wonder who's peddling that one to the press. You can have the first dibs in the story. Sabre now matching the asking price. Journalists say, good. Oh, this is brilliant. You look proactive. Any idea on the figure? I say 8 million. Fucking hell. then we sing great. I mean, I think Celtic's bid, it seems now, like everyone now knows, was 4.5 million last time out. That's one hell of a jump.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I would say it's probably 6. Would be my guess if it's 6 million.
Yeah, that's honest. I think 8 million is fanciful, not because I think 8 million is an unrealistic figure, Phil.
It's not exactly.
A guy that could come and impact Celtic's first team in 2024. I would like to think 8 million would be pretty standard for us by now. It's not, though, of course. And that's where my surprise comes from.
Did you see the John Hartson quote yesterday on one of the radio stations he does, where he says, I think Norwich are taking the mick, asking for what is like, I think he said like 5, 6, 7 million. When you think about it, how much did John Hartson cost us, and how many years ago was that? And here we are still debating on if 5, 6 million's taking the mick. It's like crazy. And that's one of the guys that literally cost about that much for us all those years ago. I seen that one doing it on Go Radio, whatever what channel he's on. But yeah, it's interesting with what you're saying there. That could be another bit of spin from the board about, we'll make it look like we are spending 8 million, big bucks, and the fans will love us for it. It's going to take a bit more than that. But here's a question I've got for you, Russell, for back. If we are spending quite a big outlay for us, and as we've discussed many times, it shouldn't be a big outlay for us at this stage. But if we are spending 6, 7 million on Adam Idah, is he coming here to sit on the bench for 38 games? Because I don't think he is. I think a guy you're paying that much money for, and I know there's a lot of fans out there like, you can't drop Kyogo, or you can't do this to Kyogo, and it's like, well, if this guy's coming in for that price, I don't think Adam Idah's got to be to sit on the bench for 38 league games.
This is what frustrates the life out of me, Phil, as you'll be acutely aware of. Probably the reason you're asking is I had done one of these random tweets I do every now and then. It just fucking goes stupid, right? I don't even get why. Like sometimes I'm like, it was even that good. Far better, far better part than that at times. Anyway, this one I basically was watching the Aberdeen game on Monday night.
Yep.
Miovski, a couple of touches in the first half. I just watched it. I thought, fuck. So impulsively, as you do when watching a game of football, which half probably the negative replies have never actually watched Miovski in a game of football for Aberdeen other than when he plays us. I suggested that Celtic should sign Adam Idah and Bojan Miovski.
Mm-hmm.
That's what big clubs do. They have three players going for one. Bear in mind, those before it comes down to 3 for 1 position, we've got, I think, 7 wingers right now for 2.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
When we had 5 centre backs, which we still do right now, for 2. Mm-hmm. No one's ever been saying it like, oh, we shouldn't have signed Lagerbielka, we shouldn't have signed Nabrowski, because what they're going to do, they're coming in to be 4th choice. No one spoke like that. No one spoke like that. Everyone seemed to come in and go, let's see what he's about. Let's see if we can make his claim for the jersey. Now, the reason obviously you're saying about Adam Idah is because the same principle aligns basically. Miovski, we're never going to pay 5, 6 million on Miovski to come in and sit and be 3rd choice. So he's sitting. They always sit and be 3rd choice. It's like a bench and a squad of Scott Bains other than our first 11. So it seems to be described when it's other players. Everyone's just a Scott Bain. They just sit and accept not being, So if Adam Idah comes in, well, the same principle applies. We still only have one jersey up top, according to everyone else. We only play one up top. You'll never change that. You'll never change that, I'm told. Okay, fair enough. That means then, if Kyogo's fit, which everyone is saying, well, why would you join to be behind Kyogo and Idah? Well, why would Idah join to be behind Kyogo? Because effectively, that's what everyone's saying. Like, Miovski won't happen because you're behind Idah and Kyogo, but Kyogo is out far and away numero uno. That's what everyone's saying. Mm-hmm. So we're about to shell out this outlay that's unlike Celtic, which is ridiculous. A different debate, though. Mm-hmm. Idah has refused to go on a pre-season trip, had to kind of make some sort of peace, but probably just get an understanding with the manager that I'm off. Like, I want to go. He's moved all these goalposts, not moved all these goalposts. What's he done? He has ruffled enough feathers to make this now. Let's just get him off the books, shall we say? Tells it again. In fact, our fans are like getting 8 million for him as well, so let's just go with 8 million. But either way, a substantial outlay, Phil, for a player, fee-wise, wages-wise. However, if we believe everything everyone says on Twitter, then Kyogo's first choice. You're here for the bench, mate. You've joined for the bench. That's it. There's no flexibility. There's no fluidity. Kyogo's number 1 striker. Of course, that's not the case, mate. No. Everything is a sum of moving parts. A football manager's job is to deal with hurdles in front of him, to deal with challenges that present teams that present different challenges in front of them, different formations, horses for courses in terms of style of player, etc. And I think it'll be great to have Idah going back to putting that pressure right in Kyogo. Do you know I've got a hunch? It's just a hunch. I've got a feeling that Kyogo is the one who doesn't like the competition so much. And I think the difference with Ange was, and Ange is very much a man manager as well as, some will say a brilliant tactician. I think a set in his ways tactician, I would say. But Ange obviously knew how to get the best out of Kyogo. Look at his 2 seasons, phenomenal. How quickly he adapted to Scottish football from Japan, which we've given excuses for Iwatas, etc. of the world, Phil. Take your time to bed in, etc. Kyogo just, wow, amazing goal record. And I think a lot of that was, you're my favourite. You're my favourite. You're the star pupil of the week, every week. So I think that's what he likes. And Rodgers last year, it seemed to me, was we're going to play this way. I expect you to adapt to it as a 28, 29-year-old striker. He was 29 in January, so midway through the season. And I wonder if this year it'll be, here's some real competition for you. I expect you to thrive in that. And if you still want to be number one, which I'm sure you do, the top of the pops, or unofficial number 9, because you've not got it in your jersey, but the number 9 on the park, then I expect you to see them off. There's the challenge laid out. And I wonder if the TLC that he got off Ange is why we seen him drop off a bit last year. And then now he's got to know Brendan a bit. He's kind of getting a bit more comfortable, and we could see a better year. And then if we were to bring in 2 strikers of first team quality, like Miovski and Idah, I wonder how you'd react to that. I'm not sure. I think it'll be Idah and a youth player. I said that before. I think Rodgers has kind of alluded to it being Vata, which I think was kind of unwarranted. I think that was just based on other clubs wanting him, to be honest. Nothing he's done in a Celtic shirt. But yeah, Adam Idah's point of view, going back to that, sorry, Kyogo, if you didn't like it when Giakoumakis was breathing down your neck, Uncle Angie ain't here anymore. And he won't just sell you and get in a Diddy who's a clear number 2, like was a clear number 2 to Kyogo. Idah comes in to take your jersey. I want, up to you if you want it this year. And I want to see Kyogo do better for that. Ironically as well, you could argue, just on my final thing, Kyogo, whilst we say his best form was whilst Uncle Ange was there, you could argue it was also whilst Giakoumakis was there, but it was proper competition.
Yeah,
2 sides to that debate, yeah?
The thing is, though, like, when we play so many games in a season, it just would be ludicrous for Kyogo to play every single one of those games. We've common sense tells you we've got to have the options. At the moment, we're sitting with one striker at the club right now, and we're 1 injury away from a crisis. So yes, Kyogo has to expect that there's going to be people coming in. Adam Idah last season showed in certain scenarios, in certain games, he changed the game, flipped it on its head, dragged us out of a bad position against Motherwell and against Hibs at Easter Road. And obviously there was that game against Kilmarnock the night that we won. Like, a team that gave us a lot of problems last season. And that night when we won the league, Adam Idah was absolutely sensational. Just the way he dealt with the Kilmarnock defence, it just troubled them. So if Kyogo, if it's competition he's afraid of, then that's not the mentality. We need competition in positions, because when complacency starts to set in, that is when, you start making mistakes and you get lazy and whatnot. We talked about it with many players over the years. Joe Hart was one. Said that Joe Hart's goalkeeping position was always safe. And there was a point where we did start to say, well, Joe Hart's making a lot of mistakes and whatnot. It seemed to be when he handed in his resignation, gave his notice, that suddenly he got back to the form that we know. But there was a period there where we were all going, somebody that can at least push him, because Siegrist wasn't the answer. And obviously Scott Bain, who you've obviously mentioned there, he's happy to just sit and collect a wage. He doesn't care. But for the players like the striker position, how do you think Lee Griffiths reacted in 2016 when he had a 40-goal season and Moussa Dembele comes in? Griffiths still got a fair share of games that season under Brendan, the first one, and still scored a fair amount of goals. He started that season still the number 1 striker.
Moussa Dembele, don't forget that. Yep.
Dembele got in because of that first game against Rangers when he scored the hat-trick, and that was it. But even then, Griffiths, when he was called upon that season, still did his bit. And then Edward comes in the next season. You've got 3 excellent strikers, 1 position up top, and we still found ways for them all to get game time, all of them to score goals, and it didn't seem to be any disharmony. between the three of them. You didn't hear stories about Moussa
No, it
Dembele's
wasn't
unhappy.
fuck like that, mate.
Yeah,
and you know what? The project striker,
Mhm.
who was on loan first season, but
Mhm.
was then bought for 9 million. And remember, the reason Dembele left is because Rodgers moved the goalpost on the move to China, right? Because it was meant to be Rodgers going to China. Dembele told him he was coming with him. Then Rodgers changed his mind on going to China, right? So Rodgers is staying. So that meant when a bid came in for Dembele, Dembele still thought, I've got the green light to go though still, yeah, because you were going to take me to China. And Rodgers went, no, I'm keeping you. And that's where he started doing the posts, remember, about a man of his word and all this stuff. You know, he's a liar and stuff. That's why Dembele posted that eventually. And it turned out a training ground. Remember, a training ground incident? I think Dembele refused to train or something one day and they had to go
Rings a
get his
big
deal
bell,
done
yeah.
to go to Leon. Because that bid, Rodgers wasn't going to have Celtic accept it. Rodgers wanted to go with 3. People forget as well, Rodgers' first season, when you're talking about Griffiths there, League Cup final, I think it was only the second time we played Rangers.
It was the semi final, the one when Dembele scores
Semi-final, sorry.
The wee back heel, yes. And Griffiths set it up.
So say that again.
Griffiths set it up.
Who?
He set up Dembele. He crossed it lower across the box and he
That's
back heeled
impossible.
Yep, the two of them were on the park at the same time. Imagine
what?
That.
There was 2. No, stop. We influenced outcomes with 2 strikers in the park under Brendan Rodgers.
We sure did.
Against our biggest rivals. And
no,
just stop it. Now, I'm making about Ibrox now. And that wasn't Dembele to Edward for that 3-2-1.
It was indeed, yes.
No, we had 10 men. We had
First
10
time
men.
Yep.
He only plays one striker with 11 men. There's no way. There is no way. Yes, there is. Because the difference is, I think when Postecoglou came in, there was a real belief that anything he did with his tactics were rigid and loved. 2 sides to it. Everyone loved the tactics, but he shall not be moved on those tactics. And that's how we play, and that's it. People then start, I think, of almost put Brendan and pigeonholed him as he only plays one up top. There's a couple of examples from his first spell, dictating outcomes in his toughest domestic fixture, where it was 2. It's just nonsense to think that Brendan won't be as flexible. He definitely will. I've seen, for me personally, I just think it's bullshit that 2 strikers would be enough for many. I don't get that, and what frustrates me a wee bit with Rodgers is if I don't think it's his real plan. I think he's going, this kind is the plan, that if I get the guy I want, as in Idah, I'll need to promote from within to be third choice. I won't get to go buy a project, certainly not a 9 million one, and it would have been Rocco Vata. And I'm like, is that because Celtic are losing yet another youth prospect who is clearly rated by top scouts in England? You know, people say, oh, it's only Watford. Their scouts will get paid more than ours. I always guarantee it. Right?
Yep.
So these scouts will be worth, they'll be worth the salt, I would imagine, a lot of them. And if they are targeting something like Rocco Vata, then we had to make a promise to Rocco to try and persuade him to stay. Do you know what I mean? Rocco Vata didn't feature last year in anything that even remotely came close to outcome defining. He just didn't. Just didn't. I've got a feeling that we've been sitting for Celtics, and again, he's saying, how do we bring through the youth boys? I think it's all about, it's got to be the standard of the player. It's got to be a lot on the player themselves. I mean, Rodgers will have his eye on it all. I mean, we've all seen photos from him last year. He was at many of the B team, of the Colts, whatever you want to call it, matches. He was at youth team games. He was showing up at on Sundays, and he was at women's matches. Not that you could pick a woman for the men's team, but what I'm saying is he's got his finger on the pulse with everything going on. All you need to do is be fucking good enough. You can only bring through someone good enough, San Fran Celtic, And I think when it comes to Rodgers, how do we bring through youth? Well, you have someone like Rodgers in there who will look to do so if they're of said quality. And I don't know. For me, we sign enough youth players as well, San Fran. The average age of player that Celtic signs is probably, if you look at last summer, I would imagine the average age was about 22. Just good from
like
apart, 22 and a half. That's youth in essence as well. A lot of them were players that have never played at any sort of level like Celtic. you would think that would be somewhere that Brendan would be looking forward to excelling in. But if they're not good enough, they ain't going to get in. They've got to show enough to get the chance. And then once they show enough, he'll go, right, I'll take you to this level. Matt O'Reilly's your case in point. But yeah, that is interesting with that, Phil. Adam Idah, bring it on. Let's not dress up. There was something that shouldn't have got done this summer. It should get done. I take it from your point of view, you're looking at it from what he brought to the team last year. Obviously, he's not going to be 38 league starts for Kyogo if he was fit. Everyone, we know that Brendan won't pander to that shit for a start. But I also think it's essential for us at times to Rodgers. In fact, even in the spell Idah was here, started to two them up. I think Kyogo's played slightly deeper. Was it Rugby Park? Was it Easter Road?
Oh,
Do you remember? Because we played well the first half. Kyogo had a couple of pots outside the box. They definitely started together. No two ways.
The game at Easter Road that we won was Adam Idah scored the last minute penalty. Kyogo got fouled for that. I can't remember if Kyogo
they've started together again though. They've started a game together. No two ways.
Yeah.
No two ways. I think it was maybe Rugby Park before the split. They definitely have started a game together. It will happen. And that's where you then go, well, if it's having success and Kyogo or Idah get injured, we then have to go back to one up top because we've not got a competent option. Celtic domestically should be able to play two up top. And see if everyone right now if it's in vogue to play one up front, then go two. I put the shitters right up, everyone. Be aggressive. We've got the quality to be aggressive. So be more aggressive. I look forward to seeing Adam Idah pull the jersey on though. All in all, like, see when it comes to him, the player, I feel sorry for him with all half of this crap, with how long it takes for these things to go on. And kudos to him for holding out for the move. As a player, though, he's better than we thought when he joined, isn't he?
Oh God, yeah, it's insane when you actually think of the chain of events, and the boy, not his fault at all, but obviously the optics of that whole transfer window, like many Celtic transfer windows, it always a bit underwhelming. This boy comes in as a loan late in the day. There's no talk of even an option to buy. He's third choice striker at Norwich. A lot of fans just saw it as underwhelming, and but he just gritted his teeth. He got on with it, and he proved us all wrong. And technically, he holds all the cards as a result of that. You know, he's the one with the power now, and so he's now making it happen. It seems, whether you agree with how he's going about it or not. I know a few fans have raised concerns, saying, "What if he does that with us in a few years?" The thing is, if he comes up here and does pretty well, the way the Celtic board and the way our system operates, we probably would end up selling him in a couple of years anyway, whether he wants to leave or not, because that's just the way this hierarchy operate, as we're seeing now with Matt O'Reilly. But yeah, I can't wait to see him back in the team because I think he does bring a lot, and there are certain fixtures that he is the ideal striker to start up front in. Because the last week, obviously, we got off to a rip-roaring start against Kelly. You know, we put them at the sword. Not every game's going to be like that. You know, and sadly not. We're going to have stodgy games. This very coming weekend could be one of those stodgy games because Hibs is notoriously a place that we struggle. We go through Easter Road. So there is going to be...
Brendan struggles there.
Brendan does. One win in his entire 2 tenures.
He was up against Lennon a lot of the time.
He was actually, he was up against Neil Lennon, funny enough.
He was up against Neil Lennon, mate. Up against Neil Lennon. Don't forget that as well. But hey, don't say they've got agendas or that. But yeah, I mean, you look at it, you got Idah in that squad, amazing. In terms of what it improves to what it is now. But it doesn't change what the squad finished last season with. Bernardo improved what we had till Bernardo came back. But doesn't improve what we finished last season with. There is an acceptance Matt O'Reilly goes before the end of the window. That tells you now if there is that acceptance that it will happen. I think Brighton have supposedly came in with a bigger bit. Seeing is believing, though. For me, I'll stand by. I thought for the get-go, I think 20 million plus add-ons Celtic take. Hence why the only publicised Celtic rejections have been 14, 15, and I think 16 from Atlanta, and an 18 million from Southampton. I think 20 million plus add-ons gets you Matt O'Reilly. So let's say that'll happen, because I think eventually, if there's Brighton's and Southampton's in the Premier League looking at him, he goes to one, right? Whether folk like that or not, I can't be arsed arguing with the thing. It's the right fee. I don't either. I'm just saying what I think Celtic would take. And if they think that Brighton and Southampton are step downs, I get that as well. Yeah, in terms of the size of the club. And I think sometimes you realise what you've got when it's gone. And when you are playing regularly to 13,000 at Bournemouth, like Ryan Christine, that, I mean, you'll see he loves the weather.
Yeah.
I love good weather too. We all love good weather.
Mm.
You only get one shot at life, though. There's plenty of time from 35 onwards to get good weather.
Mm.
So like one shot at playing at 60,000, and depending on that many people around the world, everything that you do. I mean, that is, and I think sometimes these moves, the players feel that unless they get the next one. I mean, with Stuart Armstrong's in the Championship last year at 30-31. I look at him and go, well, good on you. I hope you enjoyed your couple of years at a bang average Southampton team. I hope you enjoyed getting relegated. I hope you enjoyed going back to a level that you thought you were too good for in the SPL, that you will have seen countless times in the Championship. Many think it's miles above the SPL. See, when you actually watch any of these games, for whatever reason, people get elevated who do well in that 10 to 20 million players. There's a raft of players, mate, that are SPL players in that league out of the 24 teams. A raft of them. And there's a lot of half-empty stadiums. There's a lot of little to play for, teams that you're against, or maybe even you're in. Obviously, you want promotion. I think a lot of folk leave Celtic and regret it, Phil. But all that aside, the money will talk and will take. Sadly, Matt, who I do like angling for the move, I think he's a credit to himself. I think he loves it here. But I think you've got an agent and you're going, listen, this is what we do. You go there and it propels you to there. Here's a list of examples of how this works. And you go, all right, okay, I can't turn that down, that chance down. But if Matt Riley goes, then we're one down again from the end of last season, Phil.
Yep.
So they have to get more proactive. And when we finished last season, we were positions down anyway. We were a left back. I'll let you talk about that on Friday. There's enough time covered to that, I think. Left back, but I do think centre back was needed because Nawrocki is now apparently up for loan. Lagerbielke, we know, was only rejected because of numbers, even though he didn't play another minute by Celtic or by Brendan after rejecting that loan, which I think is a wee bit shite on his career, if I'm honest. But quite obviously, Lagerbielke and Nawrocki are that far out the picture. That means you've got Welsh who's getting loan approaches as well right now. They're getting rejected. I mean, what are we going to do? Wait till deadline day and see if we can get one in on the cheap and let all three go on loan, or let two out of the three. But even if you don't only Welsh will be remotely trusted by Rodgers as a backup. So to me, centre back looks more and more glaring as a position to strengthen, because he doesn't fancy Phil Lagerbielke and Nawrocki. So you know if they're playing, they're in the team in spite of Brendan's feelings and thoughts. So it's time to get proactive, get a centre back in that he likes, and take advantage of the loan offers that have came in, because quite clearly they've got active agents, these guys. All three in the last 6 months have suitors.
They do. It's,
would you target that position?
100%. Yeah, it's worrying, because I know Liam Scales had a good game at the weekend, and obviously he did score a goal. It was actually nice to score off a corner for a change. That'll be the first one for the next 19 games or something like that, because we'll go on a run now. We won't score one off a corner for a wee while, but it was good to see that happen. But again, with Scales, I feel like he's hit a ceiling. I know there's a lot of people defending him to the hilt and whatnot. I think he's a solid enough squad player, but is he the answer going forward as a regular first teamer? No. The biggest plus I could give to Liam Scales is he brings balance, because he's left-footed and you've got a right-footed centre-back. That's something that we always talked about with Carl Starfelt. We're having to play on the wrong side of defence. It's something that we need to be looking at, because Nawrocki and Lagerbielke, as you've just said there, and look at the chain of events. Look at Brendan last year, that bizarre comment he made in some press conference around about October, November time, but he was asked about why the two of them don't feature. And it was just basically him saying they're no good enough. And did the board turn around and go, we spent $7.5 million on these two last year? They're still here. It's up to you to get a tune out of them.
Brendan shudders when you say the word we.
Well, yeah, true. But it's got to be a position. It's such an important position, because you saw some of the goals that we lost last season. Some of the shaky moments we had in defence. It's a massive priority. Carter Vickers can't do it all himself. I mean, he is such a great level, and it's like, well, those players are out there. If we just do the scouting and the due diligence, we can get players of that caliber for about 6 million and whatnot, which again is a massive outlay. You've got to imagine that if we've done it before, there has to be players out there of that similar ilk that we can get. But at the moment, when it comes to the centre back pair, yeah, I'm concerned. I'm concerned. I know Kobayashi's still in the building as well. There's a forgotten name. And the Stevie Welsh thing is insane because for me, I think for his own good, he needs to move on. He can't just go on being a bit part player. He's also very injury prone. And it's crazy. Yeah, these calls have
But
came
you
in.
did a special though, Phil, on the homegrown thing, remember?
I remember.
And
Yes, I did.
that's opened my eyes up a wee bit, that bit, because I remember you did that episode and I thought, oh, fuck. Not because of Stephen Welsh, but I don't mean it like that, but you realise how much that changes your perspective on what the potential targets can be, doesn't it? Because Stephen Welsh at this moment in time is an absolute necessity to have the Champions League squad.
Yep, UEFA squads. Yep, he does. He ticks a box there. Literally ticks a box. That's what he does. Here's an example of a player that was available up until apparently the last 24 hours. Where he's been talked about a few times by many people. Scott McKenna. Some people are like, nah, never go for Scott McKenna. He's actually signed for a team in La Liga in Spain. Las Palmas.
Aye.
Deemed not good enough apparently to some fans to come to Celtic, but he's away to a team in La Liga.
Do you know what though? Do you know what with that one? There was two sides with McKenna for me. I think the good thing about it would have been, well, Brendan kind of looked like he wanted him first time round.
That's right. He
did, it's got the hallmarks of his fingerprints on it if we did get him. But the flip side was with McKenna. I just felt there's also a vibe where many have counted him out before he's kicked the ball.
Yeah.
Not that he signed anyway. But I think that would have been one that he'd have been under. You're always under scrutiny at Celtic, but I think McKenna would have been one that was. It just becomes a sideshow almost, and he's probably acutely aware of that himself. Yeah. And he is a way to take advantage of the sun and play in a far more competitive league for the second spell in a row in his career as well. That'll be from Championship to EPL to La Liga.
Yeah.
You know, listen.
Had a wee stop in Denmark as well, with some Champions League games too, so fair play to him.
Nah, not good enough for us. Not good enough. Not good enough. It's one of those ones. Right, this is called the T.N.F. though for a reason, Phil, and I do like to try and keep that in mind, albeit sometimes I think me and the judge get that carried away with our debates that we do forget sometimes we are meant to just let's go for a name we've not had yet. Joe Henry says at the T.N.F. Dunn still have a tatty. Dunn still do we still have a tatty? Do you think that says, or will we still have a tatty? Let's go with will we still have a tatty? Because obviously, I think most of us, Joe, I'm sure you yourself, we do still have a tatty, of course. He's showing now the real side of what Rio's about of pre-season with Atletico Bilbao, of course, at the weekend. A nice goal as well. And I think, again, maybe one of these players, Uncle Ange, above him, very set in his ways, didn't maybe like the change that arrived, maybe brought in on some of these guys on 5-year deals because they thought the big man was going to be there for that long as well, as he wanted to be a Celtic great and stuff. And it was a big change. And I think Ruthless Rodgers at times, when it comes to that, might have been too far away, removed from Pascal. I don't find that hard to believe. I find that hard to believe at times as well, because I think Rodgers is known for, sort of player development and having a good way with players and stuff. Anyway, Hatate this year, a fully fit Rio, Phil, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see him developing a better version of Rio than what we've seen so far at Celtic as well. That's not because he's regressed. I want to see progress. I want to see him get better and better. And I think he can. I think it's remarkable that now Matt O'Reilly's went from on the bench for Hatate, Kalmak and Moy to now ahead of Hatate in that pecking order. I don't think anyone's seen that, to be perfectly honest with you, 18 months, 20 months ago. So that's fair. On Matt O'Reilly especially, on what Brendan's done with developing a player who was fully fit all last season as well and making him better. And I think if Hatate could start the season injury-free, he becomes a better player. For me, there is no way Celtic sell both. Now, you know my thoughts on Celtic, Phil, and their attitude to money and stuff. They're not stupid that much. They're not that far down. I actually think the easier one to sell is Hatate. I think he would be the quicker one to pack his bags than Matt O'Reilly, believe it or not. I just think Matt O'Reilly has more shooters and is more what Celtic will view as optimum value time.
Mhm.
And I think Hatate, they would rather wait till next summer. And if he can have a similar increasing level of performance consistently, like O'Reilly has had under Rodgers the season gone by, if he does that in this coming season, then he goes into optimum value territory and they'll sell him then. There's no way they both go. That's my opinion anyway. What about you?
That I agree with you. I think it would be absolute suicide to sell us two of them in the same window. That would be just honestly, if we just give up now, honestly, that's how bad that would be. The tie is so vital. I think last season it took me by surprise because obviously at the start of the season, Brendan was, I guess, showing him a bit of tough love. David Turnbull getting starts ahead of him. Remember, David Turnbull had that wee spell, and to be fair, David Turnbull actually scored about 7 or 8 goals in the first quarter of the season, so he's actually contributing. But yeah, Hatate obviously was out of the team. When he did come back in, he got injured really quickly and was out for a bit more. And as we were going through that season and that middle part, especially where things were pretty dire, let's be honest, it was turgid to sit through. A lot of people were pinning their hopes on two things when Carter Vickers comes back and Hatate. The Carter Vickers I had no doubts about, but I had the doubts about Hatate because I looked at what we did see from him when he did get a game at the first half of the season, and I was like, I don't know, I just don't think Hatate's at the races. But when he came back in, and it was that game against Livingston at Almondvale, around about March, just before we played Rangers at Ibrox, and I thought, that's a crazy game to throw him back into, coming off a long-term injury. It was a plastic pitch, bunch of hammer throws, but he ran the show that day, came through it flawlessly, and he was just brilliant from the end to the end of the season. So it just shows how vital a fit and firing Rio Hatate is for this team. So at the start of the season, I had my doubts because of just the way Brendan had kind of, I say, maybe a bit of tough love, just the way he kind of treated him. But you keep him fit, and he seems to be, on board now with Brendan. Everything seems to be rosy in the garden. Yeah, he is so importantly vital to this team. So for me, it's like to sell the two of them would be absolute insanity. I can't see it happening myself. I agree with you. As much as we do criticise the board and say they're a bit out of touch, I generally think there would be riots, really, if that happened. If the two of them went, Matt O'Reilly and Hatate, without any significant replacements. Because that's the most worrying part. See if we had a track record right now, Russell, of investing, you would probably go, well, okay, if we lose the two of them, fine, because we've got a track record of replacing really well. But right now, we don't really know what the plan is, so that worries me more. But I don't see the two of them going. I just can't.
I'll tell you another thing. It presents problems for the board, totally different to the ones you're suggesting. If they sold both, they would then have to invest. Like, see if it's just a sleight of hand as one player a summer, one player a summer, and then spend 50-60% of what you bring in as that fee, bank the CL money, bank the kit money, bank the season ticket, Champions League, all that money, like get all that there, and then sell your one big hitter each summer. You sell two, all it does is put a bigger spotlight on them.
Yep.
I'm probably giving them too much kudos by saying they'll wait till optimum value tie. It's probably because they go, nah, if we sell them both, then we've got, we're fucked. We've got to, and we don't have any players on the list anyway. No one mentioned centre midfield to me earlier on. We've got Bernardo in it. Do you know any centre midfielders? What about Robbie Savage? For fuck's sake, put that list away. It's fucking, like, I think they would, they'd be in a difficult scenario because of what they did after, more difficult than what it would actually be to deal with the fans raging at two players leaving. I think they'd be more frustrated at the fact they would be exposed to what the fuck do we now do then? Because say if you sold O'Reilly and Hatate, I think you would get £35 million plus all your sell-ons clauses, etc. So let's say £35 million, and you've then got to bring in what people will then start calling two replacements because of the vast amount of money it is. Right now, they think they'll get away with Bernardo to replace O'Reilly and then bring in a project. I think that's the truth. They're not going to bring in someone they think could come in and hit the ground running. They'll think Bernardo hits the ground running, and then it's a project to come in to replace Bernardo, if that makes sense, for last season.
Yeah.
If you were to lose Hatate, then that's all eyes on them. And there's far more money in the bank than there was before. And there's an exposure of, well, who's on your list? they don't want to be in those. They don't want to be in those situations, man. So they won't do it for that point of view either. They won't. They definitely will. I don't see that being realistic. So Hatate Joe remains a Celtic player, and I expect him to have his best season at Celtic so far as well. If I'm perfectly honest with you, and I look forward to watching that alongside probably Bernardo every week. But that's the way it goes. And maybe Thiago Home. Maybe Brendan.
Yeah.
What did you make of that, incidentally? Because Brendan pinpointed, and I felt it sounded to me, felt like, you know, the Gucci belt was back on, and it was like, there's no more Brendan Light. And he basically just singled out Thiago Home and Lawal and was like, look, you know, that's not enough. What I'm getting so far, being good, you know, being half decent's not enough. I need far more if you want to get to my team. And now it looks like Holmes kind of, well, Lawal got subbed on and subbed off in a pre-season friend. I think that was DC United. Do you remember that?
He did indeed, yeah.
And Home came on at the weekend, am I right?
He did, yeah. Bernardo didn't come on. Bernardo was on the bench.
No, I think the Bernardo thing was box ticking bullshit. That was bullshit, right?
Because Brendan had said in the run-up that he won't feature. So why was he even on the bench then if he wasn't going to feature? You know, it was a box ticking one. Like, oh look who's on the bench, everybody.
Hey, look over there,
Yep.
But you've got to think though, like Home then playing in the first game of the season, he was used. How many appearances, how many minutes did he put in the park between Jan and the end of the season?
Barely
Home.
saw him. Yeah, barely saw him. Yeah, that was
shite when you're on the show because I'm relying on the live chat just to go.
I know. I genuinely would know, but it was very minimal. I know he scored
We're exposing you now, mate.
I remember he scored against Bucky Thistle. I remember that. That's about all he did in the whole season. And there was that Instagram post that he deleted after the Aberdeen game where he put an Aberdeen player on his arse and basically put something like "be respectful" or something like that, some sort of comment, some sort of caption like "show respect" or something like that, and then it was deleted no long after because he put an Aberdeen player on his backside or whatever. But that's all I remember Thiago Home doing last season. An Instagram post and a goal against Bucky Thistle in a cup game that we won pretty comfortably. So yeah, not a great contribution.
You combine that and then you combine Brendan's comments in the Summerfield. And then I tell you, he'll be one of the subs used on match day 1.
It does. When you look at the Boston Label thing, but he's nowhere to be seen. So yeah, maybe
that tells me that tells me it's kudos to Thiago Home.
Yep.
Again, there'll be cynical views in it going, no, if it wasn't good enough last season, it won't be this. But I expect Rodgers to make players better.
Yeah.
But do you feel if and when O'Reilly goes, that it is Bernardo to replace him? And it will be elevating a Thiago Home, for example, to the jersey, or Iwata becoming more. I know Iwata was used at times last year, started against Rangers, for example, and things like this. But would you expect us to get another midfielder in if O'Reilly goes? I think that it'd be a must. Or do you think it's now time to utilise what you've got there, and maybe after a year there will be more to see from Thiago Home, especially with that, you know, the wee rocket up his ass?
Well, interestingly enough, something you said on, I think it was on the Under the Bonnet you did with Johnny recently. As you were talking about Paul McStay, midfielder, all-round midfielder, and you mentioned how midfield roles are all divided up these days. And it's no longer just you're a midfielder. There's all these different roles and whatnot. So does Bernardo instantly replace where Matt O'Reilly plays in the park? Because again, you think midfield is midfield, but again, Matt O'Reilly would be what they now call nowadays the number 10, the guy who's the more advanced midfielder, the attacking midfielder. For me, Bernardo isn't that. He's one that would sit deeper. So does he then move into the number 6, as they call it, sit in front of the back line? Callum McGregor pushing a bit more forward. I think Hatate could be that position, that number 10. I think he could be really good at pulling the strings in behind the forwards. That could be what they could go for there, because I don't see Bernardo being right in the same position as O'Reilly. I think he'd benefit from being further back, which I think in turn would benefit McGregor. And then in terms of that, I think if we're going to get another midfielder in, I think it will be a youngster on loan. There's obviously some names flying around. I don't think it will be some kind of deal where we've sold him to Brighton, they send us a player on loan. I know that's been pitched. There was a Southampton one last week.
I think the Brighton boys are about to join
Leicester. I think
Leicester.
Regan told me on it was Leicester. He's off there. So I could
They've got the
see his
same contact list as us, eh?
They must do it. They must, yeah.
Eh.
Enzo Maresca, City Group,
Rogers, back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, there's all these connections here. Join the dots. But I could see us maybe getting one more in midfield on loan, which I know maybe fans might turn their nose up at. But if it's
Can I ask you why you think you're building on?
I just don't think that, again, they've done enough due diligence to commit to a fee full time. And I know I can see the benefits in a loan with an option to buy because it's a try before you buy. I get that.
But that takes due diligence in itself, Phil.
Maybe because
why would you put an option to buy on it on a player that if you've not done the due diligence? It's interesting, eh?
It would seem, again, with the Celtic board and the way they operate, I'm surprised I'm saying this, but it would seem mental that they haven't forecasted for Matt O'Reilly might leave this summer. Surely they would have went into this summer being like, there's a good chance he's going to leave. We're going to sell him. We need to be prepared for that. They can't really pull out the excuse that we didn't expect him to leave. It was so late in the window. We didn't have time. It's like, come on, he's the most sellable asset in the team. Surely to God you knew we were going to get bids. There was going to be suitors. And it's like, so to me, that excuse wouldn't wash. But I think that they will try and spin it. Like we talked about at the top of the show, the way they can spin it and make you, they tell you one thing and make you believe it or whatever, or try to make you believe it. I think they'll try and find some way to do that. It was so late in the window. Oh, we didn't have time and we thought he was going to stay. And that's why I think it'll end up being a loan with an option to buy. Because if guys get injured and suspended and you look at it, the midfield three becomes Bernardo, Hatate, McGregor, which is a pretty strong midfield three. But once injuries and suspensions set in, I agree with you about Home. I think Home might bust onto the scene, but Kwon is still around. Do we really have faith in Kwon at the moment?
Oh, I forgot about him.
He's still around. And Iwata...
I'm amazed we were allowed to sign Kwon because if my memory serves me right, he said he was going to come in and be the best midfielder in Scotland when he joined.
He did.
And I thought to myself, well, how can you be that when we've got Calmac, number one choice? And, we can't... The guy who's going to be the best midfielder has got to just settle in for the bench. Can't have competition for places, remember, Phil?
No.
So he came in to be the best midfielder in Scotland to sit on the bench. We can't have... Thiago Home, I feel sorry for him now. He's named himself after Thiago, but hey, listen, mate, no competition.
But it's the thing with, say, Kwon, I just don't know. Like with him, again, maybe I'm doing him an injustice. We're talking about Home maybe improving, but I just felt like with Kwon, what we saw briefly from him.
Oh, trust me, he is doing nothing, mate.
No, he's no. I don't have much faith there. And then the other one that you mentioned is Iwata. To me, I just see him as being that guy that Brendan puts on late in a game to show it up because we're winning narrowly. That's the role that I see for him. Yeah,
he is his packet of ready salted, mate. That's what he is.
That
is just plain, simple. It's not even salt and shake, mate. He's already like pre-made, ready salted. Do you know what I mean? You don't get to put the sachet in yourself because one of the crisps might end up with a wee bit too much salt on them. Do you know what I mean? That'd be mental. I think Iwata's very, very bland, mate. He's just a bland player that you put in for certain situations. Does he improve our third group stage in a row in the Champions League? No, he doesn't. He didn't last year and he won't this year. It is a weird one. Anyway, let's try and go through some more of the comments because that first one's already led us down a wee rabbit hole. Chris M, do you think the board are exploiting the apparent downturn in big spending this transfer window to justify the lack of inaction again? See, to be honest, Chris, I think Phil covered it earlier with the point he made. They will consistently move goalposts to suit. Remember, Chris, when we didn't have guaranteed group stage football, it's because why invest big money when you don't know what's at the end of the rainbow? What if we don't qualify and we've bought 3 players in what they would describe as Champions League prices, which is hilarious because the amount of Conference League players or teams that aren't even in Europe this year that have average prices of the first team players that are way beyond £6-7 million, for example, across Europe. But they would say they couldn't commit to 2 or 3 Chris Julians, for example, until we know our fate. Until we know our fate. We need to know if we're in the Champions League. Then, of course, Chris, we get the Champions League, and you've seen the last 3 summers, and so have I. Actually, our most proactive summer in recent memory is when it was desperation. It was Ange Postecoglou going into Champions League qualifiers, funnily enough. That was literally for numbers, and because when Ange brought out his little black book of players, it was, wait a minute. Those are the prices. Go on. You think our new star striker will be £4.5 million? We're about to sell our main one right now for 18 million. And talk more. Talk to me more. So that's how that went. I think, will they use that? If my memory serves me right as well, Phil, and Chris as well, just to direct the reply to yourself also. Am I not right in thinking it was either the last AGM or the one before? They actually pointed to FFP when it came to Everton.
Yeah, they did. They mentioned that at one point.
Everton are moving into a brand new stadium, and
Yeah.
I've over the years had Carlo Ancelotti managing them and Ronald Koeman managing them. This is ex-Barcelona, the current Real Madrid manager we're talking about, amongst others, that have spent £50 million on players, at least two. I think it was Charlison and Sigurdsson were both 45, 50 million quid. You know, it's quite easy to not compare Celtic to this as well. So I don't know. I think they will probably use it as something, Chris. But what I'm trying to say is they'll look at all angles, mate, every year, and they find different excuses each and every time. Phil, you got anything to add to that?
What I would like to know, and this is not me trying to find an angle to stick up for the board, but I would like to know more about the whole FFP stuff, because it does seem to be a bit of a factor now down in England. Because when was the last window in England? Now think about over the years when you've watched transfer window deadline day and the way Sky Sports brag about there's been £5 billion spent this summer by clubs. That doesn't seem to happen now, and it's been for a good few windows. So FFP is clearly doing something. Does it really affect us? That's why I said I'd like to know a bit more about what are the ins and outs of it, but that's another debate for another time. And
yeah. No, I get you, Phil. Balls to the Walls comes in. I want to just quickly address this because a couple other folk have mentioned the adverts thing. Now, Phil, you are the man, along with myself, who have the keys to the bus, right? The backstage stuff. So it's perfect that it's me and you on the show. I get the adverts are annoying. I get that they are, right? First and foremost, there is nothing we do when it comes to adverts that controls it, other than there is a button you click before you go live. You have to have a certain amount of subscribers and all that, certain amount of watchtowers, and we achieved those pretty early, and we're chuffed for that. But I know this is off Celtic topic, but I want to address it because it's shite when you see adverts, and I get that. But literally the settings we put, it says in brackets beside them by YouTube Studio recommended, and it's called balanced. It literally says balanced brackets recommended. Yeah. Now to we're not guys who have TikTok. We don't know how half of this stuff works. Yep. To me and Phil, when it came to what's the prerequisites we put the show, what's the proxies that we tick before we go on the show, recommended made sense to us. Balanced, the word balance made sense. If you want it to consistently be ad free and things like that, then I'm not going to help you with that, unfortunately, because we need to keep the wheels in the road, and it's a hell of a lot of time that's invested by the troops right now, and it's not going to happen anyway, right? So there's ad revenue to be gained from, and we literally go with the balanced and recommended one. That's it. So I promise you, there's nothing like. There is an option above it. What's it called? Intensive or something? No.
There's 3 options, and obviously I can't remember the 3. Balance is the middle one, obviously, and then
it says recommended in brackets. So
yeah, it does. But it also says that every viewer has a different experience. I don't know how YouTube decides it. It's all this algorithm stuff again. But when Balls to the Wall probably got an ad there, there's probably other people that didn't. And it's like it affects different viewers. That I don't understand all that ins and outs to YouTube, but it does actually say on it as well that different viewers will have different experiences when it comes to the ads as well. That's in YouTube's hands. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Balls to the Wall says it never used to happen, which is weird. I don't get that, because it has been the case for maybe they've just fell out with you, Balls to the Walls. I hope not. I've not fallen out with you. But anyway, and I hope those adverts aren't for Pornhub again, Balls to the Walls. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going by your username. I'm just going by right, okay, let's get on to the next question in there. Graham Terrell goes in the positive light, and I think that's fair. He's saying, if we were to keep Idah, keep O'Reilly, are we happy come the end of the window? See, for me personally, I'll quickly answer it from my point of view, Phil. I'll give you the more expansive answer on this one. But that would mean Idah and Bernardo are only recruits. I'm guessing that's what Graham's saying. Like, if we just kept them and we go with what... That means the squad's the prerequisite of the board for me, particularly when you get all the Champions League rewards, season ticket rewards, strip rewards, etc., is to make us stronger going into the next season coming out a window. So that would mean we start the season equally as good, but with maybe improved player because of Brendan's tactics. But I think the personnel and things like that should improve, etc. But I want your take on this one.
Yeah, I would I would be happy to a degree, and not like jumping for joy. Riley staying is a big one. That would be big. But yeah, we're kind of still in the same position, bar we've now got a different goalkeeper, and yeah, we are then just relying on what the players have learned over pre-season. Because you've got to remember as well, to give them the benefit of the doubt, you know, whenever a manager changes, there's always going to be a bit of disruption. Obviously, Ange left at the end of last season, took a few weeks, then Brendan came in and whatnot. So a lot of the players and guys like Palmer and stuff arrived late in the summer window last year. This year they've had a full pre-season. So you need to obviously give them the benefit of the doubt and hope that they do improve. But from a domestic point of view, I think if that is our squad, I've got no real worries there. No worries at all. Domestically, I think we're fine. But again, the crux of it is we want to try and make a mark in Europe. We don't want to be the tourist attraction, the whipping boys of the tournament again, especially in this new format. And then Dave, this what it's 36 teams. You've got to finish in the top 24 to get through to the knockout stages in some way. Got to just amass enough points to get that. So you've got to imagine that, you know, we can make a dent. Because last season, okay, we'd still finished bottom of the group. But there were some games there were some moments, and it was always down to the usual Celtic doing Celtic things in Europe where we were close. Brendan even said it, and I don't think it was him just blowing smoke up our asses, essentially. He did say that he felt we were competitive in some of the games. The Lazio game at home, we were, until we shot ourselves in the foot at the end of the game. The Atletico Madrid game at home, we definitely went toe-to-toe with them there. The Feyenoord game, even though we won it at the end, was a game that was a dead rubber, effectively, at that point. So we're not too far away, but in this new format, we've just got to try and amass enough points to get into the top 24 out of 36. And I think if we've got this current squad right now, even with Matt Riley staying, I don't think we get in that top 24. There still needs to be a bit more added at this stage. But from a domestic point of view, yes, I would be happy, but I think we need a little bit more for the European stuff.
I think that goes without saying, Phil, and I think you're absolutely spot on. Charles comes in. T.N.F, will our wingers turn up this year? It's last chance for some of them. I'm going to go back to what I was kind of saying at the start of the show, and I think it's important to re-emphasise these points, Phil, because the amount of pushback you get on things like 3 strikers for 1 will win. Bear in mind, like, scoring goals is kind of the key to football. Don't score goals, can't win games. End of. I want 3 for 1 there, but we have six wingers for 2, and folk go, but he's out the picture. Well, not really. Which one is out the picture? Because Yang was used more than Forrest last year. Forrest started this season. Palmer had 10 goals, 10 assists last year. I think it was something like that, or 20 goals and assists combined. We've got Maida, who I think is Brendan's number 1 pick. That's up to 5. And now we've got Nicholas Kuhn, came in January for £3 million, as Bayern Munich and Ajax on his previous clubs list. And quite clearly, looking at pre-season, has a different substance and style about his play than what we witnessed in the second half of last season. That's 6 for 2, the equivalent of 3 to 1. So will our wingers turn up this year? I think they all get a fair crack of the whip, Charles, if I'm honest. That's what I do think. But you're absolutely right. What I do feel is the competition is ramped up, and some will need to be left behind. Now, if we look at pre-season, for example, Kuhn looked... I couldn't believe that Man City game. I watched the whole thing, and I thought... And do you know what? It wasn't even his 2 goals, although they were cool, calm finishes. It was the outside of the boot assist for Kyoto. That was. And do you know what? See, when he went to play it, I knew he was going to do it. I could just see it, and it was like, it's almost you could feel an aura about someone. There's confidence brewing. And the way he positions his body, I knew he was going to do that. Did I think he'd execute it as well? No, I didn't. See, now look at Palmer. Palmer has the best numbers out of them all from last season and scores against City and Chelsea. Did he score against DC United? Not so sure. Can't remember. Forrest
no, he didn't, but against Chelsea and against City,
scores and comes on as a sub straight away. Obviously, the weekend, one of Brendan's go-to subs straight away. Maida last season was, I think, the one that Brendan, I think, is baffled Brendan, if I'm honest. I don't think either Rodgers or myself, if I'm honest, expected Maeda to be. He likes technical ability, not so what you could do with the football. Then he wants the personality, the character traits and stuff. But normally, then he'll go to like what you actually like with the ball. And Maeda at times. I mean, he's the only guy who could score. I mean, he is the only guy ever who could close down a pass and score from 30 yards at Ibrox. I mean, that is Maeda.
As
within the first minute of a game as well. That is Maeda madness. That is just him. Like that. All the goals he scores tend to be just bizarre. But he generally think up to, we go into this summer, maybe things have changed a bit. But I mean, I would have said second half last year, that was Brendan's number one choice. He'll argue. But then he says James Forrest is the best winger at the club. When you go, okay. Then I watched Yang getting more opportunities than Forrest last season. Far more. I watched him give up a goal at Ibrox, and as far as I'm concerned, I stand by the point I made at the time. He gave up on that. You can get beat on the inside, but you don't just stop. He stopped, Matondo scores. Yang started the next game. So Brendan obviously wasn't being as ruthless Rodgers as I would like with him. So the competition's real there, mate. So in terms of which ones will turn up, I think they've all got arguments that they must be because he's used them all. It could be that he's not overly convinced by any, but I think he will be. I think it's a position as well that Rodgers will be better at picking, shall we say, than he would be at picking an elite goalkeeper. Casper's someone he'd worked with who was already at Leicester when he joined. Right, that was good fortune. Centre backs, he's still not. I mean, if Nat Phillips was his centre back that he's brought in so far in his second spell at Celtic, I say no more. But I think these sort of positions is where he excels. So whoever ends up getting the run, would you agree, Phil? They'll be there on proper merit. But I actually think there's real excitement in those positions. And I know the guy for Belgium was linked. Where'd you sit on a seventh winger coming in? And another left one. Or would you rather see them sort of cut ties with a couple of the guys in situ right now?
I think there's a couple they do need to be cut ties with, and namely, very controversial one every comes up, but Mikey Johnston definitely has had his time.
I've not even mentioned him.
I know, he's got to.
So there's 7 now for 2 positions.
And he did score a couple of goals on that tour as well. He did. So people say, maybe he'll turn the corner. But as I've said many times, Mikey Jones, I call it Jesse Lingard syndrome, where Jesse Lingard's like 30 years old and people are still talking about potential. I'm like, is that what we're getting with Mikey Johnston? Is he going to be like 28, 29 still at Celtic? And people go, he's got so much potential, that lad. It's like, if he's 25 now, I believe, and he still hasn't, been able to nail down a first team place after all this time, I think Johnston's race is run. Forrest is an interesting one because I was as perplexed as many last year when Brendan Rodgers came out and made the comment about he's the best winger at the club, but then fair play to James Forrest, he came back into the team and he was a pivotal part, and he started last Sunday, which a lot of fans obviously they will point and say, it's mad that in 2024 he's starting, but hey, yellow jersey analogy is Tony Haggerty likes to use all the time, like the Tour de France. If you've currently got the jersey, it's up to them to dislodge you, and James Forrest had a strong finish to the season. Brendan obviously knows him and trusts him. He was pivotal in Brendan's first spell, and he's obviously helped him at the end of last season with what he's came in and done. So fair enough if James Forrest is there. I think James Forrest is a lifer at Celtic. I think he'll keep signing new deals, even if he's not first teamer. But I think on form, if everybody's firing, I think you're looking at Maeda as a definite starter just for the boundless energy. Although you are right on the point about technically, maybe he isn't a Brendan player, but what he does bring for the energy that he's got is huge. Especially remember the game we played Livy and we went down to 10 men because Joe Hart got sent off, but we still beat them 3-0. And after the game, Brendan Rodgers was very complimentary on Maeda's performance, saying, you've never got 10 men when Dyson Maeda's playing, because he does the work of 2 people. So for me, Brendan's obviously very high on his work rate. And Kuhn looks like he could be coming on to something. It's obviously still early days after the pre-season he looked good last week. Obviously scored his goal as well, cut inside a little, getting shots away. That's the type of stuff you want to see your wingers do. And I think if he's on for him, then you're looking for like Kuhn and Maeda. Yang, I don't know with Yang. I feel like
he could go for me.
Yeah, he could.
I don't care about on loan either. He could go. Yeah, I think Johnston is in the territory we were talking about earlier that if Scott McKenna had signed would be.
Yeah,
One
every
bad
mistake he makes
performance,
is going to
or
get.
one average performance becomes a shocking performance. A shocking performance becomes the absolute whipping boy for everything wrong at Celtic.
Of course.
It doesn't matter now. Johnson's had too many years of that.
Yeah.
To turn that round, I think, is unfair on him as well, if I'm honest, because he's fighting a losing battle. I think him and Yang would take us down to 5.
Yeah.
Now, unless I'm missing something, Phil, do you need another winger?
As with the numbers,
Honestly, would you? Well,
would you?
Would you if it was you?
Or
would you get rid of another? Would it be another that got the call?
Can only base it on what we saw last season, and you're just relying then on, are they going to improve this year? We don't know at this point. So to me, it's like, do you take the plunge and go for somebody else? Do you try and sign someone else, or do you just try and put faith in some of these guys? Because again, there was money spent on Palmer last year, money spent
But
on
he also
Yang.
contributed.
I
think Palmer's numbers, you struggle to get a replica of that, mate.
Yep.
With our signing policy, sadly.
It's a weird one with Palmer, and I've said this a few times. So I think massive confidence player, and I think if you look at the game with Ross County at the turn of the year, he missed the 2 penalties in the same game. He got a retake and missed it, and after that, he did seem to just sort of drop. But when you look at all of his numbers from the first half of the season, because that game was literally the first league game we played in 2024, but up until that point, his numbers were fantastic. I think between that Ross County game and the end of the season, he probably contributed maybe 2 goals or 2 assists or something. It was like a massive. So to me, it was a confidence thing with him, but there was flashes there in the first half. So again, I would probably stick with the numbers that we've got and just hope that they come onto a game. And you've got to remember as well, we're in a day and age with 9 substitutes on the bench. So, you can look to the bench, and if there's 2 wingers on the bench as well to try and change it, because again, there's going to be games that are stodgy. There's going to be games where we're going to be struggling, and we're going to have to look to try and change it up. So we're in that day and age where we can have high numbers for certain positions because we can put them on the bench and change it mid-game, because Brendan Rodgers has shown, as you brought up earlier on, talk about the Edwards sub with the Ibrox, with the Dembele stuff, he's shown in the past he knows how to change a game.
Well, he does know how to change a game. There's no 2 ways about that. And I think the winger situation for me isn't a high priority unless if he's identified the guy, say it was that guy in Belgium, for example, and he's went, no, that's the guy. That's who I want. That's my Scott Sinclair, for example. You go out and get him. And then you deal with getting rid of the rest. Because they were happy to do that with Brendan last summer. There's a guy we think you should get. So there he is. They can be proactive with their type of signings. So I think he does deserve that. If that is what he'd be this for. I'm intrigued by the winger situation as well, Phil. I think there's a lot more positives in there than you think. I think Forrest is, I've said it, I hate Ryan Giggs as a person. I think he's despicable as a person for what he's done. But I think when you look at a player, I wonder how many times he had James Forrest moments amongst the Man U fans. Had there been podcasts, etc., in 2004, 2005, and channels like this, the Man United bus, etc., and they would be going, he's lost a yard of pace. Fergie's got a blind spot with him. He's always in the team. We've moved on now. We've got Ronaldo coming into his. What's Giggs still doing? And then he adapts and becomes he was centre mid. Whereas I think Forrest would probably become someone who could play as a sort of striker. I think he could play off Idah, no problem at all. I think his timing of his runs would be just natural to be able to do that up front. I think his finishing is so underestimated. I think he's a fantastic finisher. I just wonder if he's ruled out maybe that turned 30, early 30s, why is he still there phase. And because of his achievements towards the end of last year and how pivotal he was and us winning trophies, I wonder if he now goes into that realm of, I like Forrest again. Forrest is a good option. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, let's not just focus on that. Let's go in. Gary Brown, is Matt O'Reilly going 25 million plus 4 million bonuses to Brighton? Phil, a lot of Celtic fans want more money than that. Where do you sit? I've obviously said my piece on what I think O'Reilly's worth. Where do you sit on it? I want to know what you think he's worth. And then I want your honest opinion as to what you think Celtic will take. And that could be more than what I said by miles. It could be the exact same as what you think he's worth. Where do you see this playing out, if it is to play out before the window shuts?
I think what Celtic will take is pretty much what's written there. If that's true, that's happening, then 25 million plus bonuses. It's going to be in the Jota, Kieran Tierney territory. Again, with you look at what Brendan said in recent weeks, where he's made it clear to any suitors that if they want to bid on him, then bid on the player, not on the league. I think sadly we're just always going to be an issue for Celtic. Teams are still going to, because if he was currently in the English Premier League, Matt O'Reilly, if he was currently putting up the numbers he does for us for the English Premier League team, you're talking. I mean, I saw Conor Gallagher went to Atletico Madrid for 40 million. I mean, come on, So it's like, what would Matt O'Reilly be worth if he was currently a Premier League player? But sadly, because he plays in this division, it will always be that will always be hanging over, no matter what Brendan says this week. So realistically, I mean, Celtic are within their rights to get more than 30 million. I think he's worth it. I think in this day and age. But yeah, in terms of what Celtic will take, if that's true about 25 million plus an extra potential 4 million in bonuses, I think they're there. Even when you said earlier on, you felt that 20 million would get Celtic round the table. You're probably not wrong on that one, to be fair. So if they're getting 25 million at least, then like I said at the time when the stories were first coming up, I thought it's going to be in Jota, Kieran Tierney territory at least, and they were both 25 millers. So we're in that ballpark. But to me, in this day and age, I think he is worth more. I think Brendan was right in what he was saying. But sadly, I think these teams are just not going to have that at all, and they're going to just keep coming back with they're not going to break 30 million, 40 million and whatnot. But saying the way football is nowadays, for these types of teams, it's chump change for them. So he is worth it.
Yeah, but it is chump change. I mean, it's frustrating. But yeah, I think everyone will have a view. I've got this mad thing in my head that I'm like, I just think it'll be 20 million, and then it'll be add-ons on top of that might potentially reach 30 million. Once Denmark start realising he's a good player because he plays for Southampton. And not the Champions League. Man of the match in the Champions League and stuff, but not in Denmark's top 26 players. Oh, fuck off.
Well, big Morten Vikos is the manager now of the Denmark team, although it's a caretaker. So maybe he'll. But I mean, Kasper Schmeichel's now the Celtic keeper, so does he keep his place in the Denmark squad? Who knows?
Well, I'm sure he'll be worried about that. I mean, Kasper walks into Denmark team. I think he's one hell of a keeper. I think folk are going to get a fright with Kasper. I'm glad you brought his name up. I think folk are going to get a fright how good this guy is this year. Yeah. Like a fright. I think he's way better than folks think. I think 37, 38, get it out your head. Forget his age. Watch him play. And I think he will win us more points than people have maybe expected. P. McLaughlin was one I've not considered. I hate these ones. He's put hashtag to be fair, which I love, McLaughlin. I mean, obviously the judge isn't on tonight, so you put to be fair instead of T.N.F. I like that. Just a joke. If Japan gets to the quarterfinals of the World Cup with Maeda up front, are we not missing a trick in some of these Champions League games away from home? I don't know. I mean, when's the World Cup?
It was the previous World Cup. Japan got to the quarterfinals and Maeda played as the central striker. The Qatari World Cup in 2022.
It says if Japan get to the quarterfinals.
Oh, if Japan get to the quarterfinals.
It says if Japan get to the quarterfinals.
You're talking 2026. Will he still be here in 2026?
I'm lost.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that, oh no, what he means is if Japan got to that, which they did, then are we missing a trick? That's what he means. So he is talking about 2022, the Qatari World Cup.
Right.
They did get to the quarterfinals and he did play as their striker in every game they played.
So we're missing.
Well, why don't we play him as this striker?
Oh, shit. I think he's talking about like fucking squad strength and that for us in the champ. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm like 2026, man. I'm like, I think based on what I said earlier, his finishing are all just complete clusterfucks, apart from that mental goal he scored at Easter Road. I think there's maybe one or two others where they've looked really, really clinical. But in general, I mean, no. That to me is, I mean, Japan want that work rate because they need it, because they're right underdogs in a team. But I don't think he doesn't supply with the goal threat that I would want. Yeah. That's my honest opinion. And clumsy goals in the Champions League. I suppose there's two ways of looking at it. You might need a result to that because scoring, the perfect goal, I think that Ange would have liked often in the Champions League in his games, the perfect Ange Postecoglou type of goal. Such was the manner we played in all those matches. For fuck's him, it's his gift to do that. Maybe it was a clumsy goal, a slight tackle goal, Chris
Yeah.
Sutton slide tackle at the back post type of goal. You know, I like those.
Mhm.
Maybe that's what we're missing, but I don't know. I think Rodgers would rather have a more natural finisher.
I think his work rate up front would be excellent, but it's his hold-up play that would be the concern because he ain't got the best first touch, has he? We're going to be relying on scraps most of the game. You're going to rely on midfield runners, so you need your forward to hold the ball up for them to get through. And yeah, Maeda's first touch at times can be it leaves a lot to be desired, to put it lightly.
Yeah, no, definitely. Right, last one of the night. Sanford Celtics posted this ages ago, so I hope he's still in the chat and I hope he's good. He says, let's discuss how Brendan says, I don't speak in code. When did he say that?
Oh, probably in one of these after one of these friendlies recently or press conferences he's done
Has he?
because don't know about what he's saying there. It's just about I don't think he'll fully
And
explain
he
the best
fully
players. You know?
explained why the best players do not become available until late in the window. The whinge fest at the minute is bananas. I mean, Sanford Celtic, you could take that post that you've just made there, my man, and it could have came out of my mouth last summer.
Mm-hmm. That's the first thing I
Literally was
thought.
my argument, mate. I don't know about this don't speak in code thing. But to be perfectly honest with you, that is what I said the whole of last summer. And it never happened. So it's not whinge fest, mate. To push back, it's now evidence based because my whole thing was let's discuss how Brendan came back and said his focus was on Europe last summer. And then I explained on the bus many times why I expected the best players that we could get that do not become available to the end of the window. I said I will think we will get because otherwise we would not have got Rodgers in. But you know what happened? Nothing. Nothing changed. And we got what we were given. And Brendan trusted none of them to win as a league title. So this constant whinge fest isn't a whinge fest. It's evidence-based observations. And I think highlighting what is happening in front of your eyes without the benefit of looking at it retrospectively and having hindsight on your team. Because I think that is when you look weak. That is when it looks, after the event, smart arseism. I'm going to make up a phrase. And I can't be honest with that, man. That isn't me. I think it's important to flag these things. And San Fran Celtic, once bitten, twice is shy for me, my man. I agree with the sentiment you said. And if you look at all the shows after Rodgers was appointed last summer, I said the exact same thing about the end of the window. I expected players of the ilk. I never said it would be definite. So it would be KT and McTominay, but they were the sort of shock signings. I thought they'll come available at the end of the window. We'll get them on a loan for 12 months, something like that. That'll blow your mind. None of it happened. January, the Celtic had to apologise after the January window for how shite they were. They actually came out and had to apologise for it. And this window so far, we've brought in a guy I think Rodgers has been able to get off his own back because he was on a free. We've signed the project goalie they wanted to get, which is 1 million. He could have fell into the last summer window. And we've brought back a player we had on loan all last year. So I get what you're saying, mate, but you have to remember this isn't a whinge fest. It wasn't a whinge fest last summer. It was exactly what you were saying last summer, but I ain't going to repeat the same things the next summer when I've got no evidence to back that up, mate.
It's all the dreams that we had this time. In fact, you and I were both very much the same opinion. I had dreams of McTominay and Tierney playing for Celtic last season. I thought, yep, the end of the window because English teams have got to register a 25-man squad for the Premier League games as well. So it's not just European games they need to register 25 men for Premier League. There's going to be players left out, so surely they'll become available then. You know that obviously Mikel Arteta's made it pretty clear he doesn't really fancy KT at Arsenal. He's all about Zinchenko nowadays. So you thought KT, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. Didn't happen, ended up at Real Sociedad. McTominay, fair play to him, he's actually forced his way into the Man United team. I thought a year ago he was no chance, but he's managed to get in there. But yeah, if we're pinning our hopes on that again, we may end up very disappointed. I mean, it makes all the sense, and I can understand the point. No doubt about it. There will be players that will be expendable, but it's getting them up here. And what we saw last year, it's not something I would pin all my hopes on right now. It's just one of these, we need to just wait and see what happens. I hope to be proved wrong, though, come the 31st of August.
Indeed, Phil, indeed. I hope to be proved wrong as well, but I was proved wrong last summer the other way, so I'm going to Going to hedge my bets this time around. However, we look forward to bringing you some more shows over the weekend. Of course, you'll be back tomorrow, Phil, that Friday feeling.
I'll do a Friday feeling tomorrow night. I think it'll be Liam and Michael, as usual, will be on with me, and we'll look forward to the Hibs game. Tricky one at Easter Road, probably, but we should be doing them. I mean, what's David Gray their manager now? Hibs changed their manager as much as the weather changes in Scotland, honestly. So
David Gray.
David Gray is their manager. Yeah, the one that scored the winner in the 2016 Cup final. He got it as a caretaker role.
I was thinking of White Ladder. I was thinking of fucking... what?
Aye, he got a caretaker job last season, and they gave it to him full time in the summer, which I think underwhelmed quite a few of the Hibs fans because they were expecting them to go out, but they just went for an easy option. A bit like sometimes the Celtic board do.
That David Gray owes me a fucking iPad as well. I remember when he scored that header, I was on the fucking phone going, "You watching the game? Like they're fucking shite." Blah blah blah. It was like 2-2.
Yep.
And then he scores. I'm like, "Yeah, fuck it!" Like jumping about the living room. Dropped my phone onto my iPad screen, smashed it to bits, and that was it. It was history, man. So, he owes me
David Gray.
David Gray. He does. Anyway, we will hopefully get Mark out as well. Give him a run out before the weekend game. We'll see how he is. If we can get him on maybe a Saturday or pre-match on the Sunday, who knows? But we'll definitely be doing PMP as well with Terry. If you've not seen his Under the Bonnet episode last night, head over to that after this. If you've not had your Celtic Phil, he had some fantastic stories last night.
Box office, like I said, box office, mate.
It was very, very good. We thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and there'll be more of those Under the Bonnets to come, I'm sure, with other contributors have not done so as of yet, as the season continues. Phil, thanks for stepping in the night. Couldn't appreciate it more. As for the rest, be good. Keep your eyes on the board. See you later.